What if some of the most gripping British war films were not locked behind subscriptions, deluxe box sets, or film school libraries, but sitting out there, waiting for you to stumble into them? These are not loud victory marches or glossy legend builders. Halfway through this list, one film quietly pulls the rug out from under everything you thought leadership looked like. And by the end, you might realize why these stories still whisper louder than modern blockbusters ever could. Number 15, The Way Ahead, 1944. This film doesn't begin with heroism. It starts with uncertainty. The Way Ahead pulls the rug out from under the typical British war movie expectation. These aren't trained soldiers or confident commanders. They're ordinary men, fumbling through training, unsure in their uniforms. And that's what makes it resonate so powerfully. Made during the war, it follows a group of civilians who are thrust into military service without preparation. The training scenes are awkward and real. Mistakes are frequent. Authority isn't handed out on a silver platter, it's earned slowly and painfully. What stunned audiences at the time was the lack of polish. Soldiers complain. Orders are questioned. The journey to confidence is long and uncomfortable. Director Carol Reed allows small moments to tell the story. A lingering silence, a look of doubt, a slow realization that there's no turning back. David Niven anchors the film with quiet authority, earning respect through consistency. The Way Ahead endures because it doesn't rush to deliver grand speeches. Courage is messy, fragile, and grows in awkward steps under pressure. It's this raw honesty that makes the film still so watchable today. The human experience of war is timeless, and The Way Ahead captures that truth in a way few others do. Number 14, Went the Day Well, 1942. What starts as a postcard from a peaceful English village slowly turns into a chilling warning. Went the day well? Opens with smiling neighbors, friendly conversations, and a sense of calm that feels so familiar. But then, doubt begins to creep in quietly, and the village is turned upside down. Released during the peak of WWII, the film imagines a terrifying scenario. What if danger arrived not with explosions and shouts, but with a smile? The threat isn't loud, it's subtle. Small inconsistencies in familiar faces and actions build the tension. The film thrives not on action, but on trust unraveling as neighbors begin to question each other. Director Alberto Cavalcanti doesn't rush. Every shift in atmosphere is sharp and unsettling. Audiences at the time found the film terrifying because it felt so close to home. This wasn't some far-off battlefield, it could be your own village. Cavalcanti's restraint is what makes the film unforgettable. It doesn't offer comfort. Courage here isn't glamorous or easy. It's reactive, messy, and sometimes clumsy. Went the Day Well? Is a haunting reminder that danger can creep in, often with a smile, waiting for someone to open the door. Number 13, In Which We Serve, 1942. In Which We Serve pulses with urgency. It was made while history was unfolding, and it's this immediacy that gives the film its emotional weight. The story follows the crew of a British destroyer, but its heart lies not in the ship, but in the people aboard it. Co-directed by Noel Coward and David Lean, the film shifts between present moments at sea and the memories of home families waiting, lives put on pause, and personal connections strained by the pressure of service. This structure, ahead of its time, allows the film to feel deeply personal without ever becoming melodramatic. Coward plays the captain with quiet dignity. His authority isn't based on bravado, it's in his steadiness. He never raises his voice or seeks attention. His calm amidst chaos anchors the story, and it's this restraint that defines the film's emotional power. What makes In Which We Serve so impactful is its balance. It acknowledges the uncertainties of war, refusing to offer false reassurance. The film resonates even today because it reflects shared responsibility not as an ideal, but as a real, lived experience. It shows how service bonds people quietly, long before history ever remembers their names. Number 12. Ice Cold in Alex, 1958. At first glance, this looks like a simple journey film. It is anything but simple. Ice Cold in Alex is about endurance under pressure, told through a relentless trek across the desert where hope shrinks mile by mile. The story follows a small group trying to reach safety, clinging to one shared dream. A cold drink waiting at the end. That idea becomes more than comfort. It becomes survival. John Mills plays his role with visible exhaustion, a man held together by routine rather than confidence. What gives the film its power is physical reality. The heat was real. The fatigue was real. Scenes were filmed under harsh conditions, and you can feel it. Performances strain because the actors were genuinely pushed. Nothing feels staged. Trust becomes fragile when a mysterious figure joins the group. Every delay feels heavier. Every breakdown matters. Director J. Lee Thompson refuses to soften the experience. There is no rush to relief. The final scene is legendary not because of celebration, but because it releases tension built patiently over the entire journey. Ice Cold and Alex remains gripping because it understands something simple. Survival is not dramatic. It is stubborn, quiet, and sometimes powered by the smallest promise on the horizon. Number 11, The Cruel Sea, 1953. This film does not celebrate life at sea. It examines the cost of it. The Cruel Sea follows a small escort ship and its crew through endless patrols, isolation, and responsibility that never lets up. Jack Hawkins delivers one of his most restrained performances as a captain slowly worn down by duty. The sea itself becomes the real antagonist. Gray, endless, unforgiving. The film focuses on repetition rather than spectacle. Long nights, routine decisions, quiet exhaustion. What sets it apart is emotional discipline. There are no dramatic speeches, no easy releases. Leadership here means making choices with limited information and living with them long after the waves settle. Audiences at the time were surprised by how controlled it felt. Filming in rough conditions added authenticity. Ships with real service history were used, and it shows. Veterans later praised the film for capturing reality without exaggeration. The Cruel Sea endures because it respects silence. It understands that courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply returning to the deck again and again, knowing exactly what the night might bring. Number 10, The Dam Busters, 1955. The Dam Busters makes one thing perfectly clear. The real power of war lies in the preparation, not the celebration. This isn't a film about grand speeches or heroic action. It's about the meticulous, nerve-wracking process behind every victory and how failure can be just as painful as triumph. Based on the true story of the daring raid on the German dams, the film focuses on the precision planning that went into the operation. Wing Commander Guy Gibson, played by Richard Todd, is the heart of the film. But what makes it remarkable isn't just his resolve. It's the way every character's nerves are stretched thin as they pursue a single, impossible goal. The film's brilliance lies in how it slows down to show the boring parts, the meetings, paperwork, trial runs. Every delay, every moment of uncertainty is woven into the narrative. The focus is on the emotional toll of preparation, the weight of every decision. It's not about instant success. It's about building success slowly, with teamwork, patience, and nerves of steel. The Dam Busters is a film about the quiet tension of planning and why that tension matters. Number 9, The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. Most war films celebrate bravery and triumph, but The Bridge on the River Kwai flips that expectation. This film is not about victory, it's about obsession. Colonel Nicholson, portrayed by Alec Guinness, becomes so fixated on building a bridge for the enemy that he loses sight of the very purpose of his actions. Set in a Japanese POW camp during World War II, the film follows Nicholson's belief that constructing the bridge will prove the strength of the British spirit. What begins as an act of duty spirals into a dangerous pride, a misplaced sense of honor that ultimately leads to tragedy. The genius of The Bridge on the River Kwai lies in how it shows Nicholson's gradual unraveling. He doesn't see his actions as a betrayal, he sees them as a test of resolve. The true conflict is not between captors and prisoners, but between duty and self-awareness. This film sparks debate even today, because it asks a critical question: what happens when duty goes too far? The Bridge on the River Kwai still resonates, raising uncomfortable truths about leadership and pride. Number 8, The Hill, 1965. This is not a battlefield war film, and that's exactly why it cuts so deep. The Hill takes place almost entirely inside a British military prison in North Africa, where punishment replaces combat and authority becomes the enemy. Directed by Sidney Lumet, the film strips war down to its rawest psychological core. Soldiers aren't fighting Germans. They're fighting exhaustion, humiliation, and a system designed to break them. The infamous Hill itself, a brutal punishment run under the desert sun, becomes a symbol of pointless cruelty masquerading as discipline. Sean Connery delivers one of his most restrained performances, far removed from heroics. His defiance isn't loud, it's simmering. The officers, meanwhile, aren't monsters, which makes them more frightening. They believe in what they're doing. What makes The Hill so unsettling is its honesty. There's no victory here, no catharsis, Just the slow realization that war doesn't only destroy bodies, it corrodes systems, values, and people who think they're doing the right thing. Freely available online today, The Hill remains one of the most uncompromising British war films ever made. It doesn't ask for admiration. It demands reflection. Number 7. Battle of Britain, 1969. Most war films rush towards spectacle. Battle of Britain does something far more difficult. It waits. This is a film about tension stretched thin, about decisions made in rooms far from the sky, and about the unbearable pressure of knowing that losing means everything ends. Set during the pivotal air campaign of 1940, the film focuses not on a single hero, but on a nation holding its breath. Commanders argue. Pilots wait. Radar screens glow quietly with terrible importance. The enemy is coming, everyone knows it, but knowing doesn't make it easier. What gives the film its weight is restraint. The aerial combat is thrilling, yes, but never romanticized. Planes fall suddenly. Pilots vanish without speeches. Survival often feels like luck rather than skill. The cast is enormous, yet no one dominates, reinforcing the idea that this was not a story of individuals, but of collective endurance. The real drama lies in uncertainty. How long can this last, and how much can be sacrificed? Now widely available online, Battle of Britain endures because it understands something modern films often forget. Sometimes the bravest thing a country can do is simply refuse to collapse. Number 6, Hope and Glory, 1987. This may be the quietest film on the list and one of the most honest. Hope and Glory doesn't show war from the front lines or command centers. It shows it through the eyes of a child growing up in London during the Blitz. Directed by John Boorman, the film captures the strange contradiction of wartime childhood fear, mixed with excitement, danger blended with freedom. Bombs fall, schools close, rules disappear, and in the middle of it all, life somehow continues. There's no propaganda here, no speeches. Adults are confused, strained, and improvising. Authority feels fragile. Survival is domestic and improvised, finding shelter, sharing food, laughing when you probably shouldn't. What makes Hope and Glory so powerful is its refusal to simplify memory. War isn't presented as heroic or purely tragic. It's chaotic, disruptive, and deeply human. Moments of joy exist alongside terror, without explanation or apology. Freely available online, Hope and Glory reminds us that war doesn't only shape history, it reshapes childhoods, families, and the way people remember who they were when the world caught fire. Number 5, The Desert Rats, 1953. The Desert Rats doesn't offer sweeping victory, it offers endurance. Set during the North African campaign, this film focuses not on glory, but on the slow grind of survival. Richard Burton plays a schoolteacher turned officer, a man thrust into leadership under conditions that break many others. But Burton's performance is quiet, restrained, and powerful, as he grapples with responsibility that never truly feels earned. The desert dominates every scene. The heat presses down. The sands stretch endlessly. It's not about battles won or lost. It's about making it through another day. This is a film that thrives on minimalism, showing just how difficult it is to hold your ground when everything is against you. What sets The Desert Rats apart is its unflinching focus on the small moments. Orders are given, orders are followed, but what's really happening is the quiet erosion of morale. Progress is slow. Every inch gained feels hard-won. It's a portrait of exhaustion, of people doing their jobs because there is simply no other choice. Despite its release, which some felt lacked the traditional heroic elements, veterans praise the film for its realism. Nothing in war is as dramatic as it seems. Sometimes survival is nothing more than standing your ground when everything tells you to collapse. The Desert Rats understands that, and it's why it remains a powerful watch even today. Number 4, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, 1943. Released during World War II, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp is the war film that Britain almost rejected. It dared to question everything about tradition, most notably, what it meant to be a soldier. This film follows Clive Candy, a man whose ideals harden and eventually trap him in a life defined by outdated values. The film isn't interested in the heroic soldier of propaganda. Instead, it paints a complex portrait of a man who, over the years, clings to his ideals even as the world around him changes. Played by Roger Livesey, Colonel Blimp's journey is not about victory, it's about coming to terms with the fact that heroism often comes at a steep personal cost. The filmmakers, Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, faced opposition for daring to question national pride and the idea of military duty. Some thought the film might demoralize the British public, but time proved them wrong. The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp is remembered not as a film that undermined morale, but as one that questioned the price of holding on too tightly to tradition. It remains a deeply thoughtful war film, available freely online, and still one of Britain's most subversive and introspective cinematic triumphs. It doesn't celebrate war, it reflects on it, and that's exactly why it still resonates. Number 3, The Guns of Navarone, 1961. If you've ever felt the weight of a mission, you'll feel it in The Guns of Navarone. This film isn't about sudden explosions or quick victories. It's about the exhausting, nerve-wracking process of executing an almost impossible mission. The film follows a small group of commandos sent to destroy a German artillery installation. But the true story lies not in the action, but in how every small setback makes the success feel farther and farther out of reach. Gregory Peck leads the charge as an officer who refuses to back down, even as every step forward feels harder than the last. Alongside him are David Niven and Anthony Quinn, both men whose internal struggles provide the real drama of the film. This is a war movie that focuses on what happens when you're pushed to your absolute limit and then forced to push even further. What makes The Guns of Navarone stand out is how grounded it feels. The mission seems doomed from the start, and yet every failure adds depth to the story. It's a tense, realistic portrayal of what happens when plans crumble under pressure. The true heroism is in enduring, not winning. That's why the film continues to captivate. It doesn't glorify action. It glorifies the human spirit. Number 2, A Bridge Too Far, 1977. A Bridge Too Far is not just another war epic. It's a sobering reflection on the cost of ambition. Based on the real-life failure of Operation Market Garden, this film doesn't shy away from showing what happens when things go terribly wrong. Despite a star-studded cast and large-scale battle sequences, the film's most haunting moments come from the quiet moments of defeat. Director Richard Attenborough refuses to soften the truth. The film follows the operation's downfall, showing how overconfidence and miscommunication turned a bold plan into a costly disaster. The heroes here are not victorious soldiers, but people who face the harsh reality that not every mission succeeds. What makes A Bridge Too Far stand out is its focus on failure. In most war films, failure is a momentary setback. Here, it's a slow, grinding reality that the characters are forced to confront again and again. By the end of the film, you realize that courage in war isn't just about fighting. It's about dealing with the consequences of decisions that were made far from the battlefield. Now, freely available online, A Bridge Too Far serves as a sobering reminder that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is accept failure and try again, even when victory is out of reach. Number 1, The Longest Day, 1962. The title says it all. The Longest Day is a war film that isn't interested in giving you an easy ride. It isn't about focusing on a single hero or action sequence. Instead, it takes you through the chaos of D-Day from multiple perspectives, showing the confusion, the mistakes, and the small decisions that ultimately shaped history. What makes The Longest Day so compelling is its commitment to showing how monumental events aren't shaped by a few grand moments, but by countless small choices. Each scene lingers on the mundane as much as the heroic, capturing how everyday people are caught up in something much larger than themselves. The tension builds not through fast-paced action, but through moments of hesitation, miscommunication, and quiet fear. Filmed in black and white, the film adds to its documentary-like realism. Real locations were used and veterans were consulted, making the depiction of D-Day feel grounded and authentic. There are no sweeping speeches or overly dramatic moments. Instead, you are placed right in the heart of the action, where every choice matters. What makes The Longest Day timeless is that it shows how bravery is built from many small decisions, and how history is shaped by the ordinary men and women caught in its grip. It's an unforgettable portrayal of the chaos of war, and it remains a powerful, freely available piece of cinema. There you have it, 15 British war films that offer much more than just explosions and triumphs. These films show the human side of conflict, from moments of uncertainty to stories of quiet endurance. Which one of these will you dive into first? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden cinematic gems. The world of classic war films is waiting for you to explore, and there's always something new to discover. What's your next watch?